All right, greetings, everyone. We are live again this Friday night, late Friday night. Well, it's super late where Awini. In fact, it's Saturday where Awini's at. It's Saturday. It's Friday here in Atlanta, almost 9 o'clock. But anyways, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Awini has frozen up on us. Awini, you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, You good? You good? You good? Everyone, thank you for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. Make sure you go to Donfo.Africa. We are rolling to Sierra Leone in about a month. In fact, we touch down a month from today in Freetown. So we have one more spot remaining, just one more spot remaining. If you have your African ancestry DNA test, which links you back to a tribe in Sierra Leone, you are eligible for citizenship. No other countries offering this. In fact, you know what? Oh no, this is my Nigerian passport. I thought I had my Sierra Leone passport. This is my Nigeria one. I thought I had my Sierra Leone passport's upstairs, but no other country is offering this. So hit me up, Donfo, DANFO .Africa. Again, Donfo .Africa for details. If you're interested in enrolling, and even if you're not eligible for citizenship, still come. Still come. You are more than welcome to come. You know, we have a couple people who aren't eligible for citizenship who are still coming. So again, Donfo, DANFO .Africa. Check us out. Send me a message, and I will holler back at you. Again, I will holler back at you. So that's what we got going. Let's see here. What else? Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Any other announcements? At the time being, no, there's not. So without further ado, we have brother Awini Baba on with us today, all the way from Ghana. From Ghana. Are you in Tamal? Tamale? Is it Tamal? Tamale? Are you? That's where you're at, Awini? Awini. Awini. Oh, the brother that froze up on us. Goodness. He froze up on us. Awini, we can't hear you. You froze up on us. You froze up on us, Awini. Okay, we lost him. All right, yeah, it's that Northern Ghana Airtel or MTN Wi-Fi that's up there, but out up there. So, anyways, guys, today's topic is Africa, the continent is so rich. Why are the people so poor? Um, Not all the people, but why is there still poverty in Africa for a country that's so rich in minerals? Link is in the chat room, guys. Please click on that link. If you want to call in, go ahead and call in. Weenie is having technical difficulties right now. So if you want to call in, please call in. Yeah, Mr. Himself alone, the reason they are poor or appear to be is a lack of utilities. Right. There is infrastructure issues in Africa. The biggest one that really is a pet peeve that I cannot stand, that gets on my nerves, that drives me up a wall is the lack of trash pickup. Trash. I cannot stand the trash, the burning of trash. I don't, it's just, that's the one that drives me up a wall. The trash issue. So the trash issue, that's like a big one for me. Of course, everyone should have running water. Everyone should have electricity. But the trash. Guys, do me a favor. Um, Go to donfo.africa when you get a chance. Click on community. And guys, join our Telegram community. Also, to join the email list as well. So again, twofold. Join the email list, and then join the Telegram community as well once you go to donfo.africa. All right, Winnie, go ahead. We
Yeah.
lost.
So yeah. Hello.
All right, yeah, we're gonna jump right into it. The continent of
Okay.
Africa is rich, but the people are poor. Go ahead, take us away.
Yeah. So, thank you very much for um, the opportunity, and my regards to everybody. I mean, this topic may sound um, a bit repetitive, but it's absolutely uh, necessary because we still keep coming back to the same issue of African people not, and I'm saying African people across the world not being able to um, get the best out of the resources, in Africa. And this is the core of the problem. It's not been resolved, so we have to keep talking about it until we get a solution to it. And so one must never get fed up talking about these issues. So if you look across the length and breadth of this continent, you will find everything that is, suitable for sustaining a good life. All the materials or resources that are required to make a people rich are available here. But we find ourselves in a situation where those resources are not being used properly. So that's just going to be the crux of what we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to give some specific examples, you know, with regard to where I come from, Ghana, and other countries that I know, right? And so I'm going to take Ghana for example, right? So Ghana has a bunch of resources. Ghana has oil. We have lots of gold. There's probably gold everywhere in Ghana. Even where I'm at right now, in the northern part of Ghana, we have our fair share of gold. And this is, it's just there. And we have, lots of timber. We have, the beach as a resource. We have water resources, that are good for fishing. You can fish in the ocean. We have lots of rivers that we can fish from. We have, our fair share of diamonds. We have our fair share of, what do you call it, nuclear um, energy or nuclear deposits. We have our fair share of coffee. We have our fair share of, bauxite, you name it. It's all here. But if you study the past, Ghana was 65 years, um, the 6th of March this year, right? And if you study how these resources or how these assets have been managed, it always presents a problem that cannot be ignored. It has to be talked about, and people need to engage in it in order to get more responsible leaders that can deal with this. So, yeah, that's going to be a thing that African people are going to have to look into and to dig deep in themselves to find out why is it that the resources that we keep discovering in Africa tend to make us poorer, because you have more and more people graduating from universities, colleges, and what have you, and they're not finding the jobs they're supposed to find. And this is because of poor leadership. I would put it at that. That's where the problem really is, because under President Kwame Nkrumah, he sought to create all these industries that are tied to the resources. So if you come to the northern part of Ghana, we had the Bogatanga meat factory that was supposed to make use of the beef or meat from the cows produced up north. We had the leather factory in Kumasi, I think. We also had the tomato factory, also somewhere in the north. And every part of Ghana had its fair share of what you would call factories that are tied to the natural resources or produce that are produced over there. And after Nkrumah's overthrow, we saw in Ghana this divestiture approach, meaning a lot of these factories, or virtually all of them, were privatized. They were sold out to people who eventually ended up mismanaging them. I don't know if that was the aim to start with, to ensure that Africans do not produce what they consume, so that Africans keep depending on somebody else to supply us finished goods. And maybe that was the intention, maybe not, but we ended up in a situation where we have all these resources.
Hey,
And
Winnie, not to cut you off. You should speak on the was Kwame Nkrumah in power when the oh the sound your mic, okay, was Kwame Nkrumah in power when the I guess that Volta River, that dam project, was outsourced to the
yeah,
American company?
so yeah, Kwame Nkrumah is the
That was a big one. That was a big one. Like,
exactly.
what?
And so let me give you, so the that resource, the Volta River thing, it was part of the deal for constructing it. So Kwame Nkrumah was looking for money, or looking for a partner to help build this hydroelectric power system, right? And everywhere in the world he went, he kept being turned down. And so he eventually landed this deal in the US with Kaiser company, let me, Kaiser FC, I believe, aluminum smelters. And so the plan was to build the dam to produce excess power to not only enable the smelting of aluminum, which deposits of which we had in Ghana and in other African countries, but also to provide for domestic use of electricity. So that was the agreement that had that brought about the construction of the Akosombo Dam. Now it's been what you call unbundled, or what you would call privatized, because everything in my country, or basically everything in my country, people are giving excuses for why they are not being run well. So you have lots and lots of companies, and people are saying, well, there's corruption in the system. Why don't we privatize it so that we can maximize profit? Uh, the problem with that model is that if you privatize, for instance, power production, and you give it to somebody who's obviously going to look to make a lot of money from it, it ends up hurting other aspects of the economy. For instance, the production sector. If you have a factory that requires the use of electricity, like high use of electricity, you're going to end up paying more. So it's going to affect your bills. And significantly, and what it means is that your profits are going to be affected as well. So it makes privatization of some aspects of the economy not wise, in my view. From the little I know about other countries that are doing well, you don't privatize everything in your country. It, and when you do, you have to make sure that it serves the people um, better, in terms of, not only in terms of the reliability of the resource, but even the cost. People should be able to afford it. So that's part of it. So we had all these resources, these companies. For instance, the telecom industry. If you take telecommunications in Ghana, we had what we call Ghana Telecom, and that got sold. Much of that, the shares in that got sold to the British through Vodafone, and what this means is that um, even though, yes, you make some money from the little share that you have in it, you're not able to control how much people pay for telecommunications, like making phone calls and using the internet like I'm doing right now. um, you end up in a situation where all of that is controlled by those who own the company. And this is the crux of the problem. You have examples of, for instance, the oil industry. So we discovered oil, I think somewhere in 2007 or 8, 2000 and yeah, around 2008 thereabout, and it actualized around that time. And you go and check, and it's like you find that Ghana's share in that oil is less than 20%, right? And so it raises questions about who is making these deals, and what is the, like, what are the details, like what is behind the decisions that are being taken about the management of African resources, and what are these leaders actually doing um, in terms of the management of these resources. See, so it creates a problem where you have the population growing, people are going to school and coming out of university and everywhere else, and they're not getting what they're supposed to get from the system, because our governments in Africa, honestly speaking, have been reduced to revenue or tax collectors. So most of the revenue that they generate as governments comes from taxes. And what it means is that if we're not producing um, from the resources we have, you can have a very attractive GDP, but it really does not translate into, like, better livelihoods for people. So at the crux of the matter, I would say, is how these resources are managed, in terms of, who gets to decide. For instance, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire together produce more than half of the world's cocoa, right? And we basically do not determine the price of cocoa on the market, which for me does not make sense. You know, it doesn't, because if you're going to go to a market and in which you don't have a say, then what it means is that your goods could be undervalued. And what it means is that you don't really get the value that you're supposed to get for whatever you send to the world market. And so you're not going to get the maximum output from your resources. And this is the quagmire we find ourselves in. This is at the crux of the issue, is all these countries in Africa, great potentials, great resources, but the leadership in these countries need to drastically change. That's just a, it's a given, it's a fact. So we're going to have to look into what kind of leadership that Africa is producing, and how to do that, in my view, is to ensure that we elect the right kind of leaders. And in order to elect the right kind of leaders, the African youth need to take an interest in politics. If African youth are not taking an interest in politics, then it's game over. We're going to keep finding ourselves, being the unwelcome guests everywhere in the world we are, because we're punching below our weight. And this is at the heart of our problem, is every time you look at the African continent, you see lots of potential. Everybody comes here to get rich. I mean, everybody, the Chinese are here, the Americans are here, every country in the world come here for resources, right? So how come that a continent that some people want to portray as, poor and what have you, tends to be the number one place that people go for resources, which resources eventually, make you rich. So that's at the crux of the matter. Like, how, the question now is, how do Africans take full advantage of the resources we have? I'm not saying it's bad to like go into deals with, big companies in the world. It's not bad, but go to the negotiating table with the welfare of your country at heart and negotiate a good deal that gives you at least 50-50. I understand Tanzania was doing that. I don't know what's happening now that Magufuli is dead, but Tanzania had that model where they said, we're not going to do any deal with anybody where we get anything less than 50%, which is very fair. But you move out of there and go other places, and you find that countries basically make less than 20%, sometimes less than 10% of from their resources. So, and then we get to live with the consequences of the extraction of these resources. You go to the oil city in Ghana, Takoradi, and we live with the negative impact of the oil drilling that's going on there, the social effects of it, the prostitution, the the theft, the increase in prices, the destruction of aquatic life. People can no longer go fishing around there, and before these things came, there were fishermen that used to make their living from these areas. So if you're going to go into a deal and you don't consider the social benefits and quantify them, you're not going to end up giving yourself a good deal, because whoever's going to come and take your resources or extract your resources, it's not his job to look out for whether or not you're going to be okay once he's done with his work. It's your job to look out for yourself. And that's, for me, is what I think that African leaders are not doing. And they're getting away with it because the youth of Africa generally don't care about politics and don't care about who leads them. Because, and I know in the US, it's not very different. If you look at the voter turnout in the US, it's quite low. I think it's in the range of about 60% or so, maybe 70. But um, young people in Africa and perhaps elsewhere in the world need to take keener interest in politics because it determines the caliber of people who manage our resources. And by extension, it also determines how well we do in terms of whether we get the maximum benefits from those resources, right? So um, I don't know if you have some questions.
Yeah, we have a caller. OB, go ahead and unmute yourself. Guys, hit that like button again. Please hit the like button as you come to the chat room. Go ahead, OB, unmute yourself.
What's up, fellas? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Cool. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm good. We're
That's
good.
good. That's good. I appreciate the build. Thanks, Awini. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I just want to kind of give my perspective really quickly. Um,
Okay.
kind of maybe you guys can think of it in a thought experiment like this. Um,
Hmm.
I think it's good to always look at other parts of the world and see how they're
Hmm.
faring as well. So there's another place in the world that's pretty large, has a lot of people in it, and has a lot of resources. And that place is India. And so India has uh, more people than China and more resources, as in like arable land and certain types of minerals than China, but they're not
Hmm.
as rich as China. And this is because of what it really means to be wealthy. What it means to be wealthy is the amount of production you have in a society. I think I saw a comment by Willie Fungo. He was quote close to the mark, but not quite on the mark. So a place in the West is rich because they have an abundance of goods, services, and assets. Assets you can look at as houses, land. Goods would be cell phones, cars, um, produce in grocery stores, clothing, other things like that. Services would be internet service, um, delivery service, other types of service. Airlines is a service. Um, so a lot of times we think about why is Africa poor or why do people perceive Africa as poor, although we have a lot of natural resources. Natural resources have not, in many cases, been brought into the actual production equation. So when you look at a country and you see it as poor, what you really should see is that it lacks an abundance of goods, services, and assets. And many times you should also separate um, a particular service or a particular good. So, for instance, I know Dynasty, you go to Africa, you go to Nigeria and other countries, and many of the people, they might be poor, but they have cell phones. Now, cell phones are very abundant
Listen,
because
everyone, no matter how poor they are, they have a cell phone and a TV.
there you go. See, the reason is because in Asia, they make so many, they have an abundance of cell phones and TVs that they can afford to take them to Africa and to sell them. And so, in many sense, in one sense, you can look at it like this: in Africa, we are quote unquote poor, but when it comes to cell phones, we're rich because we all have access to cell phones in Africa. So, in any other service or area of good in which we don't have an abundance of, is because we haven't produced enough, or somebody from another country hasn't come and brought that into our society. So, what do we do to use this information to change our situation? We pick an area and find a way to increase the production. Um, One good phenomena that occurs when you increase the production in a particular area or in a particular society is you depress prices. So, for instance, TVs and cell phones 20, 30 years ago, they were much more expensive than they are today. They're much cheaper because we've made them so much over time. So there's an abundance of it. In business, they call that economies of scale. So when you make a few of an item, it's pricey, especially when you first come out with it. But the more you make of an item, the cheaper it is. And also over time, you get better at making the item. So what would happen is if in an African society you have a certain good or service, if you decide to increase the production of that, year one is going to be expensive. Year 10 is cheaper. What happens is the business itself gains capital. And then what the people were paying year one, they're paying much less year 10. And when they have that capital that they don't spend in year one, they spend in year 10, they spend less. They get to use that money in year 10 on other things. So, what we need to do, we need to increase production over all goods and all services in Africa. And what we'll do is it will depress the prices of everything in the particular society or given country, and people will have more money to spend on other things like investing, um, buying other assets, whether it's homes or land, and investing back into business. So there's a lot of ideas that come across when I look at it this way. But the biggest thing is to understand, don't when you think about the economy or our societies, don't think about money. Don't think about poor or rich. Think about, do we have an abundance of goods? Do we have an abundance of services? Airlines, flights, and stuff like that in Africa are expensive because there's not a lot of planes, there's not a lot of pilots, and there's not a lot of people wanting to travel back and forth. But if we had more planes, more pilots, more of that service, more airlines, then the prices would become cheaper and people could travel more. And in turn, that would create a cycle that people continue to feed into. So we need to tackle producing more in each area, good and service. Depressing the prices gives people more money. And then lastly, we need to also sometimes separate, um, we need to separate us not having an abundance of goods, services, and assets in our society from the issue of how some of our leaders might be managing the natural resources in our society. Um, just because the Nigerian or Ghanaian government mishandles the oil revenue or resources doesn't mean in area A or area X, the general populace can't produce and trade. So I'm not sticking up for the government. I'm just wanting to create a separation because uh, there are many areas which we're not tackling that the government really shouldn't tackle. And that actually creates a whole other conversation. How much do we want any government to be included in the economy, much less an African economy? So those are some of my thoughts.
Go ahead, Dong. Dong. I know you've been waiting patiently. Go ahead, Dong. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, brother. And it's good to be on your show. I've been following you since 2017, and yeah, I'm originally from South Sudan, but I live in Canada, and I just wanted to add my opinion about the topic. You said like the reason why Africa is poor, and I define it as low, like low racial esteem. Like we don't value ourselves like enough, to build basic infrastructure. Like our leaders, they don't value us, and they're just highly corrupt. And another issue is like foreign investment, like foreign corporations coming in and just giving us like 10% of our own resources, and we accept that. Like in South Sudan, for example, the Chinese own 41% of the oil. Yeah, Malaysia 41. I think there's Indian companies 11. and then 8% goes to the state-owned company. Nile Petroleum is a state-owned corporation, and they only get 8%. So, and the corruption in the country is terrible. We're the top of the list. We're number one in the whole world. In 2012, there was a list of 75 officials in the government who stole $4 billion US. You know, $4 billion US. The country has zero infrastructure now. The oil money comes in containers on cargo planes. It goes to the president's house, and he splits it with his relatives, and his friends, all these boys, So we don't. There's no. It goes back to how we see ourselves. Like, why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we allow ourselves to get exploited, and why do we exploit ourselves in the continent? And just one more thing to add was there was a company there was a mining company in Zambia that was making 138 billion US per year. Yeah, and all that money was going back to it was a Swiss mining company, so that money was going to Switzerland. So if that money would have stayed in the continent or in that country, that would have turned that country into heaven. But I think there's a big issue with our leaders and us as Africans, how we value ourselves, the slave mindset. When you value us, if you don't value yourself, nobody would value you. So that's what I wanted to add. And yeah.
Hey, Donis, you mind if I ask you a question, bro?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of want to push back on this narrative a little bit. Not because it's not true, because it has some truth to it, but I think that we're not seeing the full picture. So I want to ask you, I guess you can't do this right now because it would take a little research, but do you or does anybody on the call know what ratio does the selling of minerals, the selling of oil, um, and other types of uh, raw or uh, smallly refined materials, what ratio does that have in the economic pie of America? How much of the stuff that's being sold, how much of the GDP by percentage is the selling of oil, the selling of minerals versus uh, the other things in the economy like selling cars or selling food in restaurants or creating bananas and um, all of these other things like selling plastic and wood. You know, we keep focusing on a few things which don't even really have that much added value. There's a lot of other things in the economy. Let's look at China. Let's look at the West. How much of their economy is made up of them selling oil or selling cobalt or bauxite? I'm pretty sure it's not 50%.
Awini Baba, you think you can answer that question? Do you know? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't have.
No, I don't know the exact percentage, but what I can say is every continent or every group of people have to look at their strategic advantage, right? I'll give you an example. Look at Russia. They make a lot of money from exporting oil, right? The top two oil exporters in the world. Now the question becomes, how do they export? They don't export the raw crude, or they add value to it. And my thinking is they do add value to it, meaning they beneficiate or process the raw material in their system, or even if they do it elsewhere, it's in partnership with another company where they have a fair share, and then they sell it and make money. Yes, I agree with the brother, because to an extent that you need to beneficiate or add value. And in the advanced economies, processing or adding value is easier. And like I mentioned, if you look at production, there are factors of production. You have labor, you have the materials that you're going to use in producing. You have, which are there are about four factors of production, but all the inputs that go to produce, for instance, a car. So if you take the American economy, it's an advanced economy because of its ability to convert raw materials into finished advanced goods. So the aspect of the car, you have, the metal parts of the car. Where do these metal parts come from? Some of them come from Africa. The rubber for, the tires and so on. Where do these come from? So, to the extent that I agree with the brother, that yes, increased production definitely is necessary, but who makes those decisions? That's why I put the ball right in the court of the politician, and by extension, I'm blaming the African youth for not being politically educated enough to put these politicians in their proper place. Because one, if most of Africans were thinking like all of us here, nobody could come to me and say, well, give me power and I'll do ABC. And then he comes to power, he doesn't do ABC. I'm going to tell you, man, you got to leave office. That's not the deal we had. And there are ways to do that democratically. Here we vote every 4 years, but it's become a custom where you have parties doing 2 terms, just like in the US. I think Donald Trump is the one that didn't get the second term, right? Recently, right? So in Ghana, the current party got a second term to finish its second term, meaning it's doing 8 years in power. Now, if the country is not seeing the promises that were made being fulfilled within the first 2 or 3 years, there should be mechanisms that the citizens can activate to hold the leaders to their promises. And this comes with constitutional provisions and constitutional reviews that citizens can activate and use to hold these leaders accountable. The problem, in my view, yes, for instance, the brother mentioned the example of India and China and so on. But what I would like you to also avert your mind to, go and look at the leadership of those countries. The leadership has to make a deliberate decision to ensure that ABC happens in the country. I'll give you an example. We import rice into this country, Ghana. We import rice to the tune of about $1 billion every year, right? We have the potential to produce enough rice in this country. We have over 9 million hectares of land suitable for producing rice. Currently, less than 500,000 hectares of that is being used, which leaves
same issue in Sierra Leone, or probably worse in Sierra Leone.
Exactly. So now the issue becomes who.
Just want to add something to what you were saying. Just wanted to add something to what you were saying about the rice. I was reading an article about how some countries in Africa, including Sudan, is going to have a shortage of wheat because of
exactly,
because it comes from Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, exactly. Ukraine and Russia.
But we can grow it in Africa, can't we? We can't grow wheat. Wheat grows in Africa. So the politician, I would say, cannot be removed from this issue because he sets the policies. So with the Ghanaian example, if you go and check, there are some politicians and big men who are making money from importing this rice. And that's why the government policy is not for supporting the growing of rice in Ghana at that scale.
Can I ask you a question, brother?
Mm-hmm.
So, a Chinese, to some degree, some of these other countries, they have subsidies that kind of regulate the
Exactly.
market in particular
Hmm.
things. But the person who really creates or produces rice in America or China is just an individual citizen who
Okay.
owns a business
Hmm.
and might employ other individual citizens.
Exactly.
To what level, like, why are we expecting the
Okay. So I'm
politicians to be in control of
so I'm
all of
gonna
these
I'm gonna
different
just
sectors
explain
of the
that.
economy?
I'm gonna just explain that in a minute.
Yeah, but let
To
me just ask
produce.
you, let me ask you this.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
senators, the congressmen, the president in
Hmm.
America, they, they might manipulate the business from a regulatory standpoint, from a legislative standpoint, but they're not fundamentally the people who make the products arrive in the
Exactly.
economy to make it
Sure.
to make the economy successful and for people to be able to get these goods and services that they
Sure.
need. So
Sure.
why do we
So
want them to do something that they don't do in the West in Africa? Why do we want the African
so let me
politician
let me
to
explain
provide
that.
these things for us?
Okay.
Why
So
don't
let
we
me
just
explain that.
provide them ourselves? Why don't we just create
So
and build them ourselves? That's my question to you.
so let me explain that. I'm on a group on Facebook called Black Farmers. I think black owned farms or something, but it's essentially a group of black farmers across the world. A lot of them are in the U.S. Do you know that the U.S. provides loan facilities for people who want to go into farming or acquire land for farming? They do. So that's how the government comes in. The government creates the enabling environment for these things to thrive. Without that, for instance, if you come to Ghana and say, I want to do, 2,000, like acres of rice, you don't have the money to do it. But I mean, maybe you have like the potential, like the skills to do it. You've learned how to grow rice and do the processing and so on. Well, you may be able to do 100 acres of rice, but you want to grow that and really increase your production. That's where the government comes in. The government makes available loans, low interest loans for farmers who want to go and increase their productivity. The government makes available the markets. For instance, if you're producing rice at the same quality of the imported ones or those produced in China and Malaysia and all these Asian countries. And the government just makes it possible for anybody to bring in the rice to Ghana and outcompete you who is producing in Ghana. And you spoke about the issue of economies of scale, right? And these bigger companies who have been doing this for long can afford to subsidize or reduce the prices. They're going to outcompete you in the local economy. So, in as much as the government is not the one actually doing these things directly, they control the tempo. They decide if they make it friendly for people to invest in those areas, people will go there. If, for instance, if I get a loan to like do 100 acres of rice from a bank, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be rich. And some countries are doing that. Young people can apply for loans, and I don't know. I know a lot of African Americans. I'm on this group. You should check it out on they're on Facebook. It's a great group.
Hey,
It's
Awini, Baba, can I chime in over here?
sure.
Hey, Diners, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been watching you like since 2017 in Cyprus, and now I'm in the state now, like going to college.
Appreciate
Well, my name is like
appreciate it, brother.
Siraj. I'm from Ghana too, as well.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to explain how like the oil and gas industry works. Like in the oil and gas industry, we have the upstream sector, we have the midstream, and the downstream. Now, when we're talking about upstream sector, we're talking about drilling, exploration, production, and so on and so forth. The midstream, it is concerned with activities relating transporting the oil from the fields down to the downstream area, And the downstream sector, we're talking about utilities, you know, refineries, and so on and so forth. The same concept is applied in Ghana as well. In Ghana, we have a lot of basins. We have the Voltane Basin, like the one we have in the Volta region area. We have the Voltane Basin. We have the Keita Basin, and then we have the basin in the Western region area, and as well as like other basins as well. But currently, the production is hugely ongoing in the Western region area. Now, in the oil and gas industry, before before someone gets into business or want to engage in the oil and gas industry, you gotta buy the plot of land just like you buy land. You gotta petition, like you gotta apply for that, and they're gonna sell you a block, and then you're gonna explore for oil. It costs a lot of money, like multi-million dollar industry. I was in Ghana the last time at Kempinski Hotel, and there are like seminars organized on how to encourage the locals to participate in the oil and gas industry. But sometimes it's very unfortunate that we don't have that capital to participate in that. And most of the times, the Ghanaian government go out looking for foreign investors. That's why in Ghana we see like companies like Schlumberger, a very like a global oil company from America. We have Halliburton. We have you heard of Cosmos from Ghana, and along several other companies. So when you say that the government is not doing much, it kind of a little shaky because the person invested in the to buy the block of land. He invested huge sums of millions of dollars to look for the oil. It's a risky business. You can discover oil or not, right?
Yeah.
And then when you discover oil, so the only contract that the government of Ghana had is if any foreign company want to engage in the oil and gas industry in Ghana, they have to work with a Ghanaian owned company, which is the GMPC, and the GMPC owns just 10% of the percentage. So the way it
Mm-hmm.
works is like in the upstream sector, when they produce the oil, like let's say a company, because I mean I don't want to go too much details in that because I was an intern in one of those companies, and when they produce the oil, I mean the company's gonna take the percentage. Like let's say like Halliburton, GMPC, and Modic from I think is an Asian company. You come together to you discovered an oil, right? And then you produce the oil. You're gonna share um, the proceeds in terms of like the percentage. Like let's say assuming we produce a barrel. I mean, the Ghanaian government is going to take 10% of it. Like the company that has the largest share will take like the 50%, and the remaining investors are going to take the remaining percentage as well. So that's how it works. So if Ghana wants to take full control of the oil and gas industry, they gotta invest too. We know why we not speaking about that because that's how the oil and gas business works. If you come to America, it's the same thing because the thing is American government, they make sure the American companies are the ones who enjoy the control.
Okay. Yeah.
This is not
That's it. Yeah.
this is not this is not this is not like this is not a joke because do you know how much a platform costs even to drill a wall? Do you know how much it costs?
Okay.
Do you know like
So
if
yeah.
how do you know how the
Can I?
FPSO, the floating production and offshore like vessel, do you know how much it
Mm-hmm.
costs to even produce? It's a multi-billion-dollar vessel that once you produce the oil, you're gonna refine it before even distributing it to your to your buyers. And
Just want to
the
get in here
foreign
real quick and
companies. I'm
just make a
sorry,
quick
say it again.
point before I leave.
Hello.
Sorry, guys. I just want to get in here real quick and make a quick point before I leave. Um, it's a great build to Raj. I like some of your points, and Awini, you have a lot of great points, so I'll definitely give you that. There was earlier I mentioned price depression, which is where like
But
in a
what you're
particular.
talking about, you concentrated on the downstream sector.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm not really talking about oil and
Okay.
this oil sector. I'm talking about in general. I was
Okay.
talking about price suppression, where let's say you have a certain good or service when it comes in. Let's say it comes in year one, and it's expensive for the general market. Maybe only a few people can utilize it. Then over time, when this good or service is produced in larger quantities or in mass, not only will the price lower, but the entrepreneur or the business that created it will have a greater profit margin. And as well, the general customer base, they will spend less on that. So when they spend less, they'll have more capital to use on other things in society. So one way that we can increase the amount of investment potential in a lot of African countries is to uh, reduce the prices of many things that are really expensive in Africa. If we can reduce the price of good A or service B, then the general populace will spend less money on good A or service B over time. That money that they'll have in excess, they can put into the bank, and then we can use that to leverage to give people loans for other businesses, or they can use that money themselves to start a business themselves or to buy land or something like that. So one way that over time we can get more investment from the African populace in any society is to suppress the prices by increasing production. But you guys all had good points. I really appreciate it. I'll just be listening. Take it easy.
Hey, Darnus, I've seen your videos like you've been in Ghana. Like, I just came to the state like 2 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was working in a utility company over here, like in Missouri over here in America, and I saw like how like they made a design. I'm like, it's something simple. We can just do that in Ghana. But the thing is, if I never had that exposure when I came over here, I wouldn't have even thought about that. It's just like simple. We can do it. But sometimes the system over there in Ghana, sometimes you gotta, in order to cause change, you gotta harm other people as well. So I think that's where the challenge we face sometimes. And coming back to the oil and gas sector, it's not like that. We have the Asians coming in, all this thing. They're all investing. They are potential investors. They invested huge sums of money in that. And I think Ghana, for instance, in the case of Ghana, we just started we just started producing the oil in commercial quantities, because even the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation is just it just started, and they don't have the human capital on that level. Because I don't want to. When I was working in the industry, I mean, most of the workers that I met where even like they were even sent to go to Italy, America, or UK to study over there so they can bring their skills on board. So it's gonna take some time, and then they're gonna learn and gain more experience, and they're gonna bring the new ones on board, and then over time, because initially when they started bringing like the Nigerian like expatriates from Nigeria to help Ghana to build this oil and gas industries, because they started like producing for a very long time, and then like we needed that the human capital so they can help us to kind of like build the industry. But in a nutshell, I would say like the oil at this current stage, the production is just only ongoing in the western region area offshore, but a large chunk of oil is still within the Volta Basin. The Volta Basin is from the Volta region up way north where you stay, Awini. So there's still a lot of like oil over there, and they still like
Yeah, I know about it. I know about
exactly.
it. But
So it,
Suraj, where I would disagree with you is, you see, you let me give you what you're talking about is neoliberalism. It doesn't work for Africa. How long have we had gold in this country?
mhm,
Since forever, right? Since we
yeah,
can remember, right? Now we have a mining school, right? School of Mines, right? The
yes,
University of Mines, right?
yes,
Um, how many Ghanaians
hmm,
own mining companies like that are of the size of Anglo Gold Ashanti or like these big companies?
hmm,
It's because we don't have the like. If you want to create wealth and create like the Dangote Alikos of Ghana, right? You need to not only give people opportunities and support them as a government, you also need to ensure that they put back their money into the economy, right?
hmm,
And to create that wealth. The problem we have in Africa, I feel, is we're trying to take the American route is good, but look at the American system. They have all these companies lined up to make money from all these production processes, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Ghana, government, unfortunately, they have to shoulder that responsibility because of our stage in development.
Mm-hmm.
We gained independence 65 years ago. We have not created, unfortunately, we have some rich people in Ghana, but we have not created the platform for these rich people to enable these rich people go into some of these sectors of the economy and even guide them as to how to enter these sectors of the economy. We have not empowered the private sector enough. That's my view. And we're just telling the private sector, go ahead and do it on your own. For me, that's not possible. And if you look at, for instance, the Scandinavian countries, I think Norway has oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how did they came to benefit more from the oil because they had this policy that they would buy some of the shares, the government, not privately, the government would buy some of the shares from these private guys and make money off of it. Look at the Saudi Arabia situation. The government has a big role to play in that. So if we're going to say, look, let's fold our arms and let the private sector do it, you and me, we are the private sector. If I say, cough up $1 million now for us to do an investment in Ghana, you may not have it. So what that ends up doing to Africa is it crowds out the indigenous Africans and makes us the slaves or the serfs of the investors who come into this country to milk it. I'll give you an example in the oil and gas sector, since you've worked there, and you can confirm if it's true or not. I heard reports from the oil sector in Western region that they even did not give the local content that they were supposed to give with regard to cooking food. I heard they had to bring in foreigners to cook food for those working, some of those working in that sector. I don't know how true it is. Can you confirm or disconfirm?
Yeah, I wasn't working offshore. I was in the office building in time of working.
Okay, so you can check it out. Now I'll give you another example.
Yeah, but I mean,
Kwame Nkrumah in his wisdom,
but
he
Awini,
built what? He built. Listen, and was done by Ghana, and he built a refinery, right? An oil refinery, Tema oil refinery, right?
yes.
Are we making maximum use of this oil refinery? We're not. We're mismanaging the refinery,
No,
and
the oil
right.
ref- the oil refinery, like the capacity of refining the oil is not enough considering our consumption capacity.
Um, yeah, but what I'm saying is this: even what is there right now is being mismanaged.
But
Tor is in huge debt. You can check it out. They're in debt. They,
yeah,
they,
but
they can't sustain themselves.
that's why
So what I want to say, is, you know that the Chinese, for instance, have some of the best state-run companies, including state-owned banks that can rival any bank in the world.
but what I'm saying is, like, I think you kind of like conflate, like, because like these are separate sectors within the industry. We have the upstream. When you speak about upstream,
It doesn't matter which
but
aspect you're
just
looking at.
just
Ghana
just
can
hold on,
benefit.
just
Okay,
hold on, because like like we have the upstream, the midstream. Like I say, like Tar is in the
sure, sure,
hold on,
sure, sure, sure.
Tar is in the downstream. Like when GMPC, hey, when they produce the oil and they have like those like the oil, like the ships comes to take their share of the percentage, they choose which supplies they want to sell to. Now they can choose to sell to Ghana Gas. Now Ghana Gas company to gonna sell the gas to other buyers as well. And Ghana Gas sometimes sell to Tama Oil Refinery. Tama Oil Refinery eventually sell, I mean, their finished product to ECG. And ECG too, when they sell the product to ECG, is most of the government institutions that uses it, and they end up not paying. So when the consumers at the local level don't pay, ECG becomes indebted. ECG is on. pay toll, and toll is unable to pay Ghana Gas, and Ghana Gas is unable to pay GMPC. You see how it works?
I absolutely get you, but I can give you
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
hello. I can give you
So
several
when I was
examples.
there, this is like something that I heard, but I mean on a different notes too. I wanted to share something with you what I experienced.
Mm-hmm,
But this is like a very covert like information that I wanted someone shared with me. Like
mm-hmm,
because there's this company is called Any Ghana, right? Any is an Italian, it's a national Italian national company, right?
mm-hmm,
Like when it come, someone told me like when they once went to hold a meeting, about a contract like in Ghana, right?
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
they sat down, they have a conversation, the terms and conditions, everything has been clearly stipulated and ratified. It was just gonna wait for some few, the following day to just sign and make everything work,
mm-hmm,
binding between both parties. And to their dismay, what happened was when they went to the hotels to sleep, the
mm-hmm,
Italians they rechanged the contract details to suit their
mm-hmm.
interest. So
Sure.
the following day, when they wanted to sign, the lawyers from the from the company from Ghana,
Mm-hmm,
they wanted to review the contract again, and they realized the Italians
mm-hmm.
changed that, and they're like, no, that's not what we agreed upon. So we got it. I mean, and that's how
Yeah, these things happen. I mean,
I realized like most of these Western companies, they
every
yeah,
um,
they will suck you.
Hey, yeah, we got some other callers on. Let's get these other callers, and then we're going to start closing out. Experience Liberia, go ahead.
Uh, Let me just say that we say can a lot. We need to stop saying that. I understand the where you're coming from, but we can do anything that we set our mind to. And first,
I
after it's
agree.
rich, and the reason why they're poor, there's no checks and balances. Then you have to look. If anybody don't think that European nations don't have a hand in the political process of what's going on in these countries, if they don't think that's going on, they're absolutely fooling themselves. Because here's the thing: why is it that the Lebanese, the Chinese, and everybody else can come into these countries and set up businesses and take the money out of the country? We got to look at the demographics. This has all been set up by design. When you look at the inner city of Chicago or in the US, it's the same thing. In the black communities, you have every other race that comes in and put a store there and take all the resources and the money out of the communities. It's the same thing as far as Africa. Then you look at the school system. If you cripple the education of our youth, then there is no future. And they know exactly what they're doing. How can you have them to try to advance and go to school when there's no jobs economically? They can't pay the school fees. So we have to look at a whole. We got to build it up from the ground up and understand how they playing this game. They have not changed the tactics. You look at all the demographics. You go to South America, where it's heavy blacks. Where you look at the Caribbean, it's the same thing. Everybody else can come in and take out the resources. It's not the fact that we're not capable of doing it. It's the people they put in place. And those who stand up and try to oppose or try to come through anything, they're either going to get taken out, or you're going to have people to sell them out, to sell the country out. And that's the bottom line. There's got to be checks and balances, and we have to eat our own. If we want to change, we got to break out and start coming together and start connecting. Despite, like I said, despite of what religious background, whatever, we have a common goal. We have to start working together, putting our monies together to open up a road. If you want to do something, you can do it. What they used to do, it was a barter system back in the day. So you're waiting on the Chinese to come in. You can do that yourself. You can do these things yourself. They set themselves up when they let these people come in. They'll do all the work, but you're not training the natives, the people that's there. So when they do leave and the contract is up, now they're able to function and carry on. You understand? A
yeah,
lot of it is
I
not happening.
I
You're
agree.
not giving
I
funds to
agree,
people.
man.
You're not giving back to the people. You're not putting people
I
in
agree.
place to pay. So now, how are you going to pay taxes? Everybody's saying pay taxes. You got to have a job. You got to have factories. You got to have a strong infrastructure. So if you don't have those things, you can't get it done. Yeah, it's money that's flowing because business is happening every day. I have seen when I went in and purchased rice from my store from the Lebanese guy, this guy was counting at least it was $150,000 that was sitting up there. And it was more money that was coming in behind. But how did they get it? Because they greased the palm of the politician, whoever they gave them that contract, is that it's two Lebanese guys that's able to produce rice for Liberia when
Hey,
Liberia can grow rice for itself.
hey, Dinosaur,
Exactly.
I want to
I
ask
agree.
I want to ask
I
you this
agree.
question, right?
Go
I mean,
ahead.
that is based on your experience, like going to Africa. So we need to you can share that. Do you think there's something wrong with our psyche or something like as black people that we don't
Yeah,
value?
you guys suffer from the same thing we suffer from in America. Here in America, is the white man's ice is better, or white man's ice is colder.
Yeah, because that's
Remember
one
that.
thing I noticed. Like, the thing is, like, when I was in Ghana, I never knew about that until I traveled for the first time, and I was like, oh wow, really? So I was exposed. So when I went to Ghana, I was like, wherever I travel, like I went to Cyprus, I went to Turkey, and all I see black people at the bottom everywhere I go, even in the States. So eventually, I realized, like, how come these other groups, when they go to Ghana in other African countries, you don't see them at a lower class, you see them at the highest class? It doesn't make sense to me. And another thing that I also wanted to share, maybe Awini can also respond to that. When Nkrumah came to America, he saw the massive development over here, and he wanted to replicate the same thing in Ghana, right? But he had a
Hmm.
huge backlash in Ghana. A lot of them thought he was giving this work to foreign nationals, even though these are our same brothers from the diaspora. So, and they revolted against him uh, by conniving with Western powers to overthrow him. So, how do we help to bridge that gap? Because most of the people in Ghana, when we hear, like, we speak, sometimes we speak passionate about Africa, but most Africans, when they see you guys, they see us, Western people. I had to come here to unlearn those things when I came over here, you know. And
Yeah.
how do we deal with that? Because I think there's a huge
Okay.
gap.
Yeah, I think I can chime in here quickly. I think African people did not start with this psyche. I'm bred in Africa. I grew up in Africa, but my psyche is different because I'm relatively well read. I know my history. We produced the richest man ever in history, who on his way to Mecca, you know, collapsed the Egyptian or current Egyptian gold industry. That we had people who had so much wealth, they were living well. We come from a background that's rich, and we have to, of course, get back that psyche. And as far as Nkrumah is concerned, Nkrumah came, and if you look at the first, let me say, the crop of people that were produced under Nkrumah, they're nationalists enough. They are. It's just people don't listen to them in Ghana. Their voices are drowned by a lot of this empty talk in the country. And the truth is, there are people in Africa that have very, very good plans for Africa. They have the skills and everything that it takes to do the right things. I don't think that black people are inherently inferior, or they don't feel like that. They are taught to feel inferior when they start growing up and they look around them and their people have not contributed or they don't see what their people contributed to history or development in terms of how far we've come as a human race. So knowing your history immediately takes away that. I know Kemetic history, I know Dogon history, I know all this history. I know Akan history, I know Nzima history, I know Guan history, I know all these groups. I know about Mande history, which comes all the way through Sierra Leone and Mali, and you have this Mende people who are spread across West Africa and so on. So knowing yourself immediately takes that away. What we have not done, for me, is we have not taken deliberate action to empower ourselves. Nkrumah started to do that. The question about whether Africa can afford to invest in some of these ventures, the answer is yes. Nkrumah did it before. Nkrumah built over 400 factories in Ghana within the time he was in power. We ended up selling most of them. Ghana had enough money to build its own airline, the Black Star Line. I mean, the Ghana Airways. We had our own shipping line, the Black Star Line. We had the money, we had the funds. It's just a matter of what we use the funds for. We're not using our resources properly. That's the way I feel. Because look at this government. This government has borrowed, the current Ghanaian government has borrowed over 230 billion cedis, right? Where has that money been invested? That's the question. Did we invest it in productive sectors of the economy, or we spent it on production? We spent most of the money on production. And so, yeah, and we haven't put much in infrastructure. Let's be honest currently. And so that is the problem with Africa. Look at Paul Kagame in Rwanda. He's doing great things over there, right? And people are being brought up to think better of themselves and so on and so forth.
People are saying like he kind of like he doesn't allow like democratic dispensation within his country, unlike in the case.
Okay. But we should stop doing that. China does not allow that. China has had Xi Jinping since when? So Russia has had. So
like we gotta decide like which path do we like. With like.
Let me tell you something. So let me answer that. The problem with democracy in Africa is that these parties that we have, who finances them? Most of them are financed by
themselves,
enemies of Africa. They are the ones financing these parties. One government starts. So look at the Nkrumah legacy. Nkrumah built all these factories. What happened to all the factories? We sold our airline. So that's what democracy can do for you. We sold our airline. We sold our telecom company. We sold our shipping line. We sold all these companies, and that's what democracy does. Look at Singapore.
I have a question. Why did the country sell that? And then
it's because we embraced what you call neoliberalism. That said that government should not do business. That's basically what we're saddled with.
But Awini, sometimes we gotta be honest to ourselves. I mean, I respect what you're saying. I respect that. But sometimes too, if we look at most of the government control, like agencies or the companies, because they believe it belongs to the government, nobody want to,
I don't believe that. Then we might as well hand the country over to foreigners, because all the ministries. Hold on. All the ministries. Listen, all the ministries are being run by Ghanaians. And these are also institutions that manage money. So if we are telling ourselves that we cannot manage anything in this country, then let's let people come and recolonize us. If that's what we're trying to tell ourselves, that we're incapable of managing anything in this country, then it's better we go back into colonialism. That's how I feel. I think that mentality should go away. We have had good people run good companies in this country before. And it's possible to run these things.
Dennis, I want to ask you a question. Like, you live in America, right? Would you want to send something to USPS or UPS? Which one would you prefer? FedEx, UPS, or USPS?
Depends on the package, but for the most part, I use USPS.
Oh, so USPS is good. Like when I came here, a lot of people say like they don't believe in USPS because it's government owned. Huh?
No. I mean, the majority of mail that's shipped in America is the regular post office, USPS.
But the service is not better compared to UPS or FedEx. Would you argue? I mean, just like being
like I said, it just depends what you're shipping. I prefer USPS.
Okay. In that regard, that was where I was speaking of. I wasn't saying that the government institutions were in control properly, but a lot of them feel like because it doesn't belong to them, they don't put that
Let me give
energy.
you a scenario here. Let me give you
I'm
a
not saying
scenario.
they cannot manage.
Look at So read about in the US where you are, right? The Democrats and Republicans, right? There are what you call lobbyists, right? People who lobby, right? So if you're, for instance, an oil company, you can go and lobby a Republican to, make policies that are suitable for you to benefit as an oil producer, right?
Yeah,
Or an oil marketer, right?
you definitely right about that.
So now the problem in Africa is we have not gotten to that stage. So if we're going to say, let's open it up, let anybody come and take control of the country, the question is, who are the big companies who own the production in Africa? We don't have those guys. How many Dangote Alikos do we have in Africa? We don't have those guys. So you have governments that come to power helped by multinational companies who have to pay back their debt to these multinational companies by bringing in policies or maintaining policies that are against the development of the country. A good example is Ghana's importation of rice. There is no reason Ghana should be importing rice. Is that
I
also
agree with that.
difficult for us to do?
No,
I
it's
agree with that totally.
it's not. It's something that we can do. Kofi Wayo came speaking the same talk. He was telling a lot of them like, hey, in America, when you come to America, most of this government, they help their own people over there. We can do the same thing in Ghana, but this elite in Ghana, they kind of look at him like he was dumb. And at that time too, I didn't really understand what he was saying until I came over here. Most of these companies over here, they are owned by indigenous
Um,
people over here. Indigenous people.
you know, so what we have is you have two parents, the American parent and the African parent. The American parent has given his children all the support they need to make it in life. And we are being told, and by the other parents, that don't help your children, just leave them to do it on their own. That's what Africans are being told, that our governments should not take deliberate action to empower the African to take advantage of his resources or his circumstances. That is what is missing in Africa.
Yeah.
Look at Singapore. Look at Lee Kuan Yew. People said he was a dictator and so on, but look at what he produced. Look at what he turned Singapore into,
Ghanaian.
right? So it's not necessarily who is running the country. In our situation, we have this NDC MPP thing. They're
Yeah.
all virtually the same. They're neoliberalists.
Yeah, the
They're
part
neoliberalists.
they don't follow.
They're not bringing, exactly, they're not doing anything that is radically different. They're
Yeah.
not talking about increasing, for instance, the local content in the production or enabling us to compete better in the production of or conversion of resources. We produce a lot of cocoa in this country. We should at least have the best cocoa, best chocolate in the world. We
It's
could
not
have
even.
done that,
It's not even
and
about.
we could still export some raw cocoa, but we could still produce the best cocoa in the world and export that as well.
But Winnie, the question I want to ask you: why do they nationalize the cocoa? Like, why aren't the farmers making money from the cocoa? Why aren't they
So
making?
let me tell you how it happened. We had the farmers are actually the ones producing the cocoa, right?
Why not
They are
making
they
the
are the ones doing the production. They are the ones farming, tilling the land, using the land. But the problem becomes because government is the one providing them subsidies, providing them fertilizers, right? Providing them pesticides, providing them all this, what do you call it, extension services, right? The government, by doing that, investing in that production process, beats down on the price when they're going to buy it from the cocoa farmer. And the government then goes to sell this cocoa on the international market to get some dollars and buy, other
is it
things that Ghana consumes and bring it back into the country, like oil.
is it a good thing?
It's for me, it's not a good arrangement. I think that farmers should make more from cocoa
Yeah, they
in
should make
Ghana.
money.
And
I came to stay now. You see, like how someone can own a land and oil, they just produce an oil, they make a lot of money from that.
Yeah, well, with oil is different because all those the
But
law
you
in
need to.
Ghana is
But that's how
the law.
it works. You
The
gotta
law in
follow.
Ghana is this. The law in Ghana is this: if you find a mineral resource under the earth, it belongs to the government.
Okay, in that
That's
case,
the law.
but in that case, you wouldn't
But it
argue with the
should belong to the people.
exactly. In that
See,
case,
if you
Yeah.
if you
that
look
case,
at Saudi Arabia, look at Saudi
exactly.
Arabia, look at Qatar. I was over
Yeah.
there.
Yo,
They don't even work. When I was there, when we
Mm-hmm.
was over there deployed, those
Yeah.
people didn't
Exactly.
work. You know who was working for
Mm-hmm.
them? The people that was from India,
yeah,
Bangladesh,
Mm-hmm.
and they
exactly.
had some
Yeah.
people from
Some Africans there.
from Somalia and from Africa that was over there working
Yeah.
for them.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The
That's the,
people was
that's the same
getting
thing.
paid from the resources. It
So
don't
so
belong to
now,
the government. It belongs to the
exactly.
people. And this is the
Exactly. So
problem.
now,
No checks and
Hey,
balances.
Dinus, can I tell you one thing? When I was working in Ghana, you know how much they told me my fair share of the oil was? They gave me $100 a month. See, that's can you imagine that?
A
$100.
hundred dollars a month.
I
That
swear,
sounds about right. That sounds about right.
I came to America. I was making like over like 5K, like just working for a utility company. Why wouldn't I want to stay over here? Do you understand?
so
We are not tackling the root
so
cause of the problem.
hmm so now that is why I say a Liberia experience Liberia. That is why I say there's a problem with the system in Africa, the constitutions in Africa. If you say something belongs to the government, what all it means is that a politician can take those resources and give it to whichever company he deems
But that's
fit,
how but that's how
and get his cut,
you spoke
and
about
and
Dangote.
and and
That's
the people can go to hell.
but that's how they made Dangote that you're speaking about. Someone made him, gave him that power to do that. A politician
Sure,
gave
but
him that. Okay,
so
but
now the
you're not,
question is,
you're not
the
preaching.
question is this. Let me give you an example. Where I am right now, I'm in the Upper East region right now, right? That's where I come from, right?
Yeah,
We have gold over here, where I am right now, right? We have these companies that come and, we kicked out a Chinese company recently because they wanted to rip us off. They were digging this gold, they found more gold, and they wanted to like brush it aside and say, well, it's not much. And then we discovered there was lots of gold there, right?
yeah,
Now, in order to have an arrangement where the people actually benefit, what we need is to get fine. You can whoever comes to mind, it's a business agreement. What percentage of it should go to the people, and how will it go to the people? It should trickle down. It shouldn't go into the pocket of some big politician or some big chief, right?
yeah.
So people have to have a formula for letting these resources or the proceeds from these resources trickle down to everybody. And that's what Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and all these guys are doing. That's what Norway is doing. They have an accounting system where money hits money comes to you from the resources, and all these things. We tend to have a different situation where government says, well, we need the money for development, and we don't know what the money is being used for.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to be interested in politics as young people in Africa, and we need to relook at the constitutions and how some of these laws are preventing us from achieving the aims we want to achieve.
Exactly. But do you know like the level of your conversation? See the kind of conversation we make. I mean, I would see when you go to Ghana or most African countries, they don't think on your level. That is the problem. It's hard to Dinus, you are in Africa, You saw that. They don't think on that level. you, you do you, I
Well,
know
it's
if
a process. It's a process,
Here's
and
the thing.
Right.
Let me say this, right?
And then what we'll do, experience Liberia, then we pass it to Siraj and back to Rena Bobby, Awini Baba, then we'll close out. I'll go ahead and experience Liberia.
Oh, forgive me, Dinus, for not greeting you earlier, man. I was so amped to come in and just give my statement, but I appreciate you for having me, brother, for what you're doing. Uh, Here's the thing, right? When you see these things, I lost my train of thought now. We was talking about the uh, what was we mentioned before you said that, Dennis? We was talking about oh
Talk about
man,
what?
we was got cut off. What
Talk
was you
about
guys
what?
discussing when I said here's the thing? What was you mentioning? It was at the
The
tip of
post
my tongue.
office. The post office.
No, not the post office. Just recently, before you said start with me, we were saying
I bet you I don't remember.
um, well,
We were talking about I guess Siraj was mentioning how I guess people on the continent aren't really in tune or something like that.
right.
Is that what you're talking about?
No, but it was basically what they have to do, man, is going back to like we said, the checks and balances, and you have to, and this is just in my opinion, in order for that to change, more people from diaspora had to come and build up the communities, and this is how it's going to start. Build up the communities, and that way you're doing everything, because everything can't be on the government. It has to be with people that's like-minded like us, that's talking, discussing this thing, and you build from within. So now when the politicians come and they want that vote, okay, what have you done for our community? We did this. Now, if you want our vote, we got financial backing. This, and you know, Diners, this is how the Italians, this is how the Russians, all of them in America, they do. They police their own, and they do what they need to do for community. And then now they have a leverage to say, okay, government, you want to come in here, politician, you want to get this. This is what we're looking for. This is what we're gonna get. And 9 times out of 10, they get it. It's because they're one group. They putting their money where their mouth is. And we have to look at that. We can't be divided. We so quick. And I know what I was going to say. It's like you have a lot of people that's over there that think like that, but once they get into position and that money gets into their hand, it's a whole different thing. It's just like a kid that's in the hood in America. Once he get it, the first thing he's gonna go out, he's gonna buy the fancy car, the jewels. He's not gonna invest his money wisely. And it's the same thing over there for people that's there. Like I know some people that's in Liberia that's politician that haven't even went to school. It's about who you know. So how do you think they're gonna govern the country well? How do you think you're gonna represent the people well? But this is the stuff that's going on. We got to, and it's nonsense. We have to go back and look at the blueprint of how we got infiltrated, how did we went down the wrong hole, and we got to pull ourselves out, and we have to come together collectively, because there's no reason why Ghana shouldn't be working with Cameroon or Nigeria or whatever. Y'all, we should be, hey, look, okay, if you got 5 billion, okay, put it over here. Because like for the war, they were saying that South Africa had donated or invested 5 billion over in Russia. If you can invest that type of money, what are you not doing for your brothers over here? You can get some in return. Okay, you need this. I'm going to invest this 5 billion over here, and what you're going to give me is this over here. It's not working. We looking to outside sources to come fix our problem. We can fix ourselves. If I got a can of beans and Dinah's got some corn, hey, brother, I'm going to trade you these can of beans. Let me get this corn. Let's work globally, in-house, and then we go globally if we can't get it. The circulation of money is not staying in the community. So it's not staying in the country. It's the same thing. Yeah, they already know this. And they already they know how to put us at odds with each other. They know how to do that.
Yes, sir. All right, go ahead, Awini. We're going to go ahead and close out, brother. All right, no problem, brother. We appreciate you coming on. All right, Winnie, go ahead. We'll close out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with a lot of the guests that came here, Siraj, OB, Experience Liberia, and so on. But I'm sorry, like we can't take out the government from this. I mean, there are some things that can happen without even under the current situation. Some things can happen. Some good things can happen, but things would move a lot smoothly if government policy is friendly toward enriching Africa and not made up of a bunch of politicians who are thinking about themselves first rather than the people. And these are people who are multi-billionaires. They just can't get enough money. Greedy, and that's just a painful fact that we have to face. We have a bunch of greedy people in leadership positions, and the masses of the people, the voters, the ordinary citizens, are busy dreaming about going to heaven, rather than dreaming of making heaven here, and that's part of the problem because we have all these faiths in Africa that keep telling the people, don't worry about your situation. When you die, you're going to enjoy this good life in heaven, you know, when he's enjoying the good life here. So we have to make heaven here in Africa. I believe Africa is heaven. It's got everything going for it. We've got all the weather that we need. If you like cold weather, you can go down south to, you know, southern Africa, you know, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, and all these areas, and you're gonna love it there. You can go to Kenya. If you like the tropics, you could come to West Africa, you know, go to Central Africa, the Congo, and so on. We have everything going for us. We just need our people in Africa and the youth, and that's why I decided that we should speak about this with the hope that even those who are not able to watch today will see this later on and watch the video to spread the message that young people need to begin to care more about who leads them, who your leaders are, and to hold them accountable and to re-examine your country constitutions to see whether the constitutions by which your countries are being run are actually serving their purposes. If they're not, then the constitutions need to be rewritten to hold leaders more accountable, to be able to create the heaven that we need in Africa. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it there.
All right, perfect. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the dialogue. Make sure you go to donfo.africa, like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty, Mirror, Huru. Peace.
All right.